The FBI and Justice Department are warning of increased threats to law enforcement following the raid. Terry Turchie is with us. He's a former Deputy Assistant Director at the FBI. Terry, do these threats add up to domestic terrorism?
Well, they certainly have the potential to do that, Stuart. And in the report that you just had, the term, the temperature is up in the country. Anytime the temperature is up in the country, especially in response to something like the FBI raid last week, you're going to have an increased threat of terrorism. So it's only natural that from the domestic terror perspective, the report that was issued that FBI agents, FBI personnel should be more alert and pay attention to what's going on, they could become more susceptible to this. What really is troubling to me is, and I worked domestic terrorism all through the 90s, primarily on the front lines in the mountains of North Carolina and in the Continental Divide when we were arresting the Unabomber and all of the things that went with that. And I have to tell you that what is really mysterious to me here is we try to foresee these things ahead of time. If you're going to take a step, you need to know the consequences or all the range of consequences of that step. And I just don't think anything has come to light that would have merited what happened last week in the way that search was conducted. And so they actually asked for this. And you do not reduce the temperature in the country by this continuous display of bad decisions. And I'll give you a direct example. Inside the FBI, go ahead.
I just want to get to this. I need to get this in. Republican Congressman Mike Turner, he wants Merrick Garland to testify about this raid. Just watch this. Roll tape, please.
No one is above the law. Donald Trump is not above the law, and Attorney General Garland is not above the law either. And Congress has the powers of oversight. He needs to comply. We've seen material like this before. We've seen materials that have been submitted to courts for warrants. This is not unprecedented. His actions are unprecedented.
Do you think that the FBI actually politicized itself?
Well, yes, and I don't even think that's an arguable point anymore. Remember, they brag about the Robert Mueller transformation of the FBI. He transformed it to a national intelligence agency, and it automatically defaults to being at the beck and call of politicians. That's what that means. It used to be an investigative agency. So we do need to have these hearings, and these need to be the beginning, but we need to start cleaning up what happened to the FBI over the last 21 years. And the only way to do that is to roll up your sleeves and get started right now.
What's morale like within the FBI right now? And do we know if any FBI agents objected to being involved in the raid? Was there any internal dispute about it? Do you know?
I have no information specifically about that. I can tell you I've been bombarded with emails and calls from former FBI agents. I know they're all upset. This is not the FBI that we worked for. We'll all tell you that, almost to a person. What is going on inside the FBI now, I don't know. I don't think FBI people now even understand the difference between the, quote, new FBI and the FBI we were in. We had independence, and we voiced it. And we really were able to express our judgment about things like raids and searches and the conduct of them way before we ever engaged in something like that. And we encouraged it so that we would make sure we avoided the very kinds of things we're seeing now.
Yeah.
We don't need the temperature in America to be any higher.
Terry, since you were involved in anti-terrorism, Moscow now says if America designates Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, it will be, quote, a point of no return. What does that mean?
Well, I don't know what they mean. I think what they're trying to do is threaten, and they're trying to, of course, make a lot of noise, so we won't do that. But let's face it, Russia and China over the last 10 years have become very, very close and are essentially allies of other countries who are state sponsors of terror. Obviously Cuba, obviously Iran. North Korea is potentially in the mix, all the things that could go on again in Afghanistan. So we need to be paying attention to this. They need to make the best decision they can. But again, they also need to understand the consequences. When you make a country a state sponsor of terror, if we have a bomb go off here and we start arguing about whether or not they might have been behind that or not, we better be very careful about the decisions we make, because responding to something like that means we respond with some sort of an attack, and there's a big difference in attacking Russia and attacking the Iraqis.
Yes, there is. Terry Turchie, thanks for being with us. You know what you're talking about, and that helps us a lot, and we appreciate it. Terry, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, sir. You got it.